wink, wink. Of course, it's not St. Gertrude's, it's cultural and everything. But so I moved up there, and I was pregnant. Married my husband, and he had an acute asthma attack soon after we moved there, and he was in a coma for 3 days. And the stress of the situation and the drilling of 5 wells around our neighborhood, I went into labor a month early and had our baby girl a month premature. And we were actually in the hospital together. We have this like adjoining hospital bed. Pictures, it's bittersweet, everyone's okay, I'm so glad. But we promptly moved to Dallas, and as you all know, you can't run from this issue. It does have to be regulated, because now there's going to be drilling permitted in Dallas. And so I just urge you to do exactly what you are doing, and regulate this as comprehensively as possible. And I really thank you for taking the time out to sit with these people, because they take the time out every single week, every single month, till the wee hours of the morning. We're almost like a family here now. We see each other so often. And so they're doing the hard work, and I'm glad that you all are too. Thank you very much.
Okay, Henry J. Thomas and Johnny Lewis, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Henry J. Thomas, and I'm part of the Eastwood Neighborhood Association from Fort Worth, Texas. And I thank y'all for appearing here today, because what we need to do is to brainstorm the issues that are at hand, because we'll have one or two things, either the quality of life or the quality without life. And with that being said, now I see on this paper here, you have all kinds of standards, but there are no numbers with these standards. Are these politicians allowed just to say, if it's this is okay, but anytime that you have issues like this, when you talk about people's lives, having these emissions come out, and people are dying and or whatever, that is not okay. But are there a set standard as it relates to parts per million, and the pH of all these different emissions and everything? Also, you have what is called airborne breathing pathogens as well, that's in the air. Now, we have all these on-site trucks and whatever there is, or these vehicles. But what about the trucks themselves? Are there any kind of regulations whatsoever? Are they allowed to not have their tune-ups? Are they allowed just to go about polluting the air that's right close to the people? And when I say regulations, it's one thing to have something on paper in the motor pool, or whatever they call it, and say that, well, we're addressing the issue. Are these companies being held in check to make sure that these standards for emissions are kept? And if not, they need to be on, and if they don't want to do that, they need to exit and go somewhere else. Because we are talking about and also, with that, is this one of these go as you go along type procedures, right? Whereas politicians have a self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will. Just because what they say and what they like is what everyone else is subjected to follow. And as I was talking about airborne breathing pathogens, let's talk about health. Now, people get asthma, people have upper respiratory infections, URIs, or what have you. Then you have all these other things in these ERs and in these hospitals, tuberculosis, whatever. So what you have here is what's called collateral damage. People are already sick from other various things. Then you have the toxins which are in the air. Then they become sick themselves. Then instead of a few people being killed off, there's a great number of people being killed off. Thus and so, therefore, and as a result, you have collateral damage. And also, these regulations, they have these monitors that says, well, this amount of air is okay. And it seems like there's never something of the negative variety when the city or these politicians do these checks. And one way that they fix their hands is keep this and hide their hands, right? They'll do it when it's convenient. What I mean by that is either when it's raining or in the wintertime. So when they have that, then everything is disguised. So are these things, will they be regulated by their staff or let these other individuals who's looking at, as I hear some people say, the greed and not the need for quality of life? And if these things are not regulated, these cities also will become cities that care for God. Because if they don't care about people's health and welfare now, they're not going to care later as long as someone is flashing some money in front of their faces. And how are they really, representing us when these things are doing, or these things are occurring? And with these regulations, will there be any MSDS sheets, in other words, material safety data sheets as well, that will impose these regulations? Not just on paper, but they have watchdog groups to have these people actually comply as to what's going on. It's not just about the machines there, but it's about the trucks and everything else that needs to be regulated. And please do not let these individuals have their way and sift out the life that people have worked so hard between blood, sweat, and tears have come together. And I thank y'all for being here, because what we're going to have is, what we have now is either a politics or politricks for the politicians. Thank y'all very much.
Good evening. My name is Johnny Lewis. I'd like to thank you for being here and having this hearing. I think everything has been said that I probably had on my list of things to say. I appreciate, and I want to thank the groups that were here, the people who made the statements, who made factual statements, and sorry that we have to go through this. But first thing I want to say is there's a reason that I don't trust state and local agencies. And gentlemen, you need to know that I'm not the only one. There's a reason. Some years ago, I fought a battle in the city of Fort Worth with a small group of people to stop a company that was venting formaldehyde into the air with a small, next to an apartment complex. It took us over 2 years of fighting. And only when it came, when that situation went on Good Morning America, and everybody decided, oh, we got to do something about it. Well, there's a reason we don't trust. There's a reason now that the Texas Air and Quality, at one time, air and water was one. They split it up, and it was about that time. There's another reason I appreciate you with a mask over there, is because, unfortunately, we won't be doing anything with those. They should teach soldiers how to put those things on correctly. So when it comes to biological and chemical things, I know a little bit about it. The second thing I'd like to raise is don't be hoodwinked by this thing. I hear industry all the time. All of these meetings, they come in and talk about how much it's going to hurt the industry. Well, when I look, I look at MSNBC and I look at, the money's challenge and all these things. I don't think we're going to hurt the industry that much if you put some regulations in. If we don't get some what you're going to have, Reverend K.L. Tatum gave you an example of a woman who the doctor's saying now that we have lead, that she has lead, children who have high levels of lead. I can take you to a lot on the south side of Fort Worth where it's been said that women should not, a barefoot woman who is pregnant should not walk across that lot. This I can take you to. We know that lead has been emitted into the air for years in this town. And if they'll emit lead, what will they do to the rest of it? What will they do about anything else? The cumulative health effects on minorities and poor communities. This is a thing that we have to begin, nobody's talking about this, and we have to begin to talk about it. I'm happy, believe me, these people with the North Central Texas group, they have been very good at educating us, and very good at letting us know what the real issues are. The gas industry will let you think that we should be concerned about this little pittance of called, they give you a little signing bonus. In fact, in the minority community, we got the least amount of signing bonuses. In fact, the rape doll community we got the least amount, and on top of that, then when they talk about these little bump royalty checks, $50 royalty check, if you educate your kid, they'll go out here and make more money than that little ragtag check. And then they're going to talk about It has nothing to do with the air, but when we start looking at all these things that tie in, that you see how all this ties in to get control so you can affect the air. So the basic human effect, the basic cumulative effects of the health in the minority community. The lady has already talked about how her husband had asthma. Well, I'm in the process now of pulling the death reports and also pulling the health reports from the county, so we can begin to see just what effects this stuff has been having. We know in New York City that they've had a rash since they've had drilling, that they've had problems. Again, we need your EPA to come in here, and we need you to do regulations in the state of Texas and in this area especially, and Arkansas and every place else. Because the first thing you're going to hear is we don't need the federal government coming in here and regulating the states. Well, I tell you what, if we don't have some federal regulations coming in here, this is going to be a cesspool of nothing but polluted air. For your bathroom reading, for your reading sometimes. There is a book, and I didn't see it, that just came out, but there's a book called American Theocracy. It's by Kevin Phillips. Please, get that book. It's kind of dated, but it's a real good book to read, and it kind of gives you a little update on the politics and how they'll use religion and everything else in Texas. And I didn't believe I would see that. But I'll be closing now. I think I've covered most of it. Like I said, everybody else really did an excellent job in covering this stuff. But public health should be the number one thing. In this community, the air quality is poor. It's been poor for a long time. The government tries to say that if the EPA imposes the air quality, it's going to hurt jobs. But in my neighborhood, we never saw all these jobs they talk about. I got people in my neighborhood that would love to be able to apply for some of those jobs. All that money they talk about, I'd love to see some of that money come into our communities for economic development. We don't see it. Let the CEOs and I dare, come in, let me take them into my neighborhood and let's let them breathe the air that we have to. And I'll show you what the real problems are. So I think I've covered everything. Please strengthen what you're doing. Lead on the south side. We know it just didn't get there. Thank God for having this session tonight. And I've already told you why I don't trust them, because when they were emitting formaldehyde into the air in the east side, into those apartments, the city, the state, and everybody else denied that it was happening until the guy finally came out and said, yeah, we've been doing it, but then nobody really cared because it was a black community. In our communities, like in Louisiana, we get stuck with all